Most people don't realize that the number one shadow priority for any relationship has a direct relation to the number one shadow reason for most breakups. Why am I saying shadow? Because the things we put into the light as priorities are typically the essentials, right? Effective communication, making sure we're spending quality time together, making sure we're meeting each other's needs, making sure that we're on the same page about finances, all the stuff that is really important and should be priorities in your relationship. But all of this boils down to one core shadow priority that all those things are a reflection of, which really is prioritizing your partner. Your number one priority in your relationship is prioritizing your partner. I've said it time and time again. You come to relationships to serve, not to receive. You will receive when you both show up to serve each other. But whenever one of you or both of you decides to start focusing more on self instead of the other person, that's when the system breaks down. That's when one or both of you recognizes that you're the only one looking out for yourself, or the other person's looking out for themselves when you're trying to look out for them too, and you're not a priority to them, and therefore you start to defend yourself. You start to fight for what you need from them. And see, that brings me right into the number one shadow reason for most breakups. See, we think it's, well, finances, which is a real thing. That's an issue, right? We think it's, my partner and I, we couldn't get on the same page. We couldn't work through our conflicts. They wouldn't listen to me. I never felt heard, or they didn't love me right. All the things, even infidelity, right? Breaking trust and so forth. All real valid problems. The main shadow reason all those boils down to is neglect, right? When you don't get on the same page with your partner about finances and what makes them feel safe financially, because look, finances comes back to your livelihood. And if you don't feel like your livelihood is safe with your partner, it's going to cause a big issue, right? Neglect of what they need in that regard. If you neglect what they need to feel loved, feel heard, right? Neglect giving them quality time so they feel like they're valuable to you. Neglecting their needs on an emotional level or maybe a romantic level, which are the things that leads people to step outside a relationship and cheat and lie and break the trust, right? To where they didn't feel like they were getting that emotional connection and support that they really wanted, and someone outside the relationship was offering it to them. So they went and they stepped out, or they didn't feel like they were getting their desires met and you weren't even open to trying to meet them there halfway. And so they stepped outside the relationship. Now, it's not the right choice to make, but these are the reasons people wind up pulling away, which causes breakups. Because what happens now after you've been arguing and upset and going through the conflict of them breaking the trust maybe, or from them feeling like they're not heard long enough, eventually they say enough's enough and they wind up walking away, or you do because you've been hurt by something they've done because they were being neglected all this time. Even if it's you that's walking away because you felt neglected. Maybe you felt like you always try to pour into your partner and see what they needed and ask them what is their desires, or what do they not feel like they're getting, or whatever. They never told you their truth. They never spoke up for whatever reason. Maybe they wouldn't do what they did for their own selfish endeavors, and you got fed up and you walked away. Or maybe you just weren't getting what you needed totality wise. You never stepped out or broke the trust, but you got fed up and decided to move on, right? It all comes back full circle to the same yin yang, which is prioritizing your partner being the biggest priority you should be making, to make sure your partner never feels those ways and you don't either. They should be doing the same thing for you. And then the breakup happens whenever there's enough neglect, not enough prioritizing and too much neglect. If you and your partner need help getting clarity on how to prioritize each other effectively for what each other needs, to avoid ever neglecting each other enough to where it wants to ruin your relationship till you wind up breaking up, DM me coaching. I'm here to help and we will get to work. Let's get it.